Today on the Quarter Hour podcast, we talk to a radio legend who has literally conquered the world when it comes to radio. From Townsville to Toronto and everywhere in between, let's meet today's guest. Hi, and welcome to the Quarter Hour podcast. I'm your host today, Liam Renton, and we're catching up with a guy who's racked up a number of airline loyalty points after his job took him from Townsville in FNQ to Toronto, Canada. He's been a program director, a music director, a breakfast radio host, and he's currently overseeing programming and co-hosting the morning show on Z1035 in Toronto.
The crew is on the way home, though, or as every parent calls it, don't make me turn this spaceship around. On the way, though, it feels comforting to be coming home till you remember You're going to hit the atmosphere at 27,000 kilometres an hour. Oh. How's that? Even the astronauts at this point are saying, are we there yet? Yeah. Are we there yet?
Ronnie Stanton, welcome to the Quarter Hour podcast.
Thanks for having me, Liam. Proof that you'll let anyone on this thing.
Listen, you've got a good story to tell. I know bits and pieces of it. You and I have never worked together, but we've worked adjacent. So how does a kid go from Townsville to Toronto? Or is that something we'll get to later on in the show?
It's been a hell of a ride. And I say that like I'm going to pass away in my sleep tonight. I hope I don't. But what an adventure all of it's been.
And for anyone that's followed along for the last 20 years, I mean, you've had some amazing gigs along the way. Why don't you do a lap of the map? Where did you start and where have you worked?
So my first job was actually in Karratha, Western Australia. The station sold and everyone was fired 2 weeks after I got there. So that was scary. But I immediately landed a job at 4ZR Roma. So we're talking 96 here. And I worked there for a couple of years and then went to Wagga Wagga and met Phil Bradley, coach of the Stars.
Yep.
He's just awesome. Still a dear friend to this day. Phil and I worked together for a couple of years and then eventually moved to Townsville in like 2000. Did a couple of years in Townsville, then Nova 100 Melbourne, then down to Geelong, up to the sunny coast. Launched Hot 91 with Chrissy Swan, which was amazing, obviously. We did that for a few years. And then I kind of had the itch to have an adventure. And when I say adventure, I mean a career adventure. And so started applying for jobs in the UK, New Zealand and Canada because I thought, well, they're all Commonwealth countries. That should be easy. And within, 6 months, I landed a gig in Canada to flip a station to Virgin Radio Vancouver. And I was like, well, I got to go do that. Loved it. And now I'm a dual citizen. And then walked across the road to another company called Corus and ended up their head of programming, VP of audio. And then throughout this time of being a corporate guy and loving it, I loved programming bunches of radio stations and coaching talent and doing all the strategic stuff. But I had an itch that needed scratching. I thought about being on the air a lot. And it was one of those situations, I think, where the further up the chain you climb, the further away you get from the thing that you loved that got you into the business in the first place.
Exactly.
And so an opportunity came up late last year to do mornings in Toronto, which is the biggest city in Canada, and program a couple of stations. So I'm kind of wearing both caps and I just love it. So after an 18-year hiatus, I'm now doing morning radio again. I have a fantastic co-host, Canadian lady named Mel, and we're having a blast. We're having fun. We're putting the spotlight on the moment. We're trying to do all the things that I've been coaching for 18 years and trying to bring them to life. And it's, Liam, it's so exciting. I don't even mind the 4 a.m. alarm. I love the thrill. I love the connectivity that we have with the audience. I think it's so easy in radio to get jaded, to forget the magic of what we do. I feel like a kid that just walked into a radio station again. But now I'm a kid with 25 plus years experience and trying to put all that strategy into what I do and, do a show that is meaningful and that works for the audience. It's a blast.
I can see that on socials. I can see you back on air. I can see how happy you are. And I've got questions about Canadian radio. Let's just back it up a little bit. You had a show in the 90s, 2000s, Ronnie and Nay in Townsville, and that was kind of the benchmark. But they would say to us, be like this show? You kind of set a tone and a mould for, I guess, regional or big provincial breakfast shows. Why did that show work?
Well, hang on. Firstly, that's really kind. I think that great radio has three ingredients, and I've been preaching this for years. The three ingredients are being focused on your audience, knowing who you're talking to, and reflecting their lives, flawlessly executing what you do, and trying to be memorable. So when you ask me why that show worked, I think it's those three things. I think it's a percentage of each of those elements that make it great. We, at Hot in Townsville, we were targeting 25, 39 females. We were talking about the shows that audience watched and the movies and the lifestyle stuff, and just trying to be in the pocket in terms of the content of the show. And then, the flawless executions, not talking over each other and getting all the mechanical stuff right. And then the memorability. I remember Nay and I broadcasting nude for International Nude Day. Like just
that old chestnut.
Doing anything we could. Yeah. I think she just wanted to see me naked, which in 2026 obviously is not okay. But because sometimes I just want to be held. But, I think memorability is it's a thing. You gotta know that there's lots of competition out there, and now more than ever, we're not just fighting the radio station across the road. We're fighting every radio station in the world because of the aggregator apps, and we're fighting against Spotify and podcasts and all of these things trying to grasp at people's ears.
When Nova launched, DMG had the ability to cherry pick its best talent from right around Australia, and you got sent to launch Melbourne. Is that correct? How did that happen? And what were you doing?
APD of Queensland under Blair Sullivan, and I was doing mornings at Hot in Townsville, and I got the music director's job under Dan Bradley at Nova, and obviously learnt bucket loads on how to do it properly, and Nova 100 was hugely successful at the time, so that was an awesome learning experience.
And launching a new station in Melbourne, a very parochial radio market. I mean, you had a lot of success there, but what was it like in those early days?
Oh, it was amazing. You could taste the energy in the hallways. We had a really clearly defined mission. We knew exactly what we were trying to do. Musically, content-wise, the morning show was Husey and Kate. It was a really strategic, well-thought-out offering that was really different to the Fox. Yeah, it was awesome.
What did Melbourne Nova learn from any mistakes that Sydney Nova may have done the year before?
Well, Sydney's such a different market, and I think we've seen that come to life with the falling on the face, if you like, of Kyle and Jackie O in Melbourne. Just that things that work in Sydney may not work in Melbourne. They are really different markets. And, musically, I think the belief of localism has flattened out a bit with things like Spotify and Apple Music. I think a hit's a hit, certainly in 2026. But in those days, there was real parochialism. Is that a word? Parochiality, parochialness. And, both musically and certainly the imaging. I remember how much work we used to put into imaging, getting the logs right, having the right people on air. Nova Sydney did a great job. But Nova Melbourne it caught fire. We went to number one in 15 weeks. It was amazing.
Biggest memory of that time at Nova Melbourne? I mean, people don't get to launch radio stations, and anyone that has knows how special it is.
Oh, it's the greatest thing. My greatest memory of Nova Melbourne was having lunch with Pink, this is Pink, the artist, back in the kind of Most Girls was her hit at that point, which no one plays today. And she came into the radio station. She was like, oh, my God, I hate all of this stuff, this stupid PR stuff. Can we just go to lunch? And she and I went and had lunch. I'll never forget that.
So good. What do you eat? I know you'll remember.
Dim sum, like yum cha. Of course. Sometimes you ask silly questions.
I know.
If I'm not eating Chinese food, I'm being polite.
You then went to do something that I guess I want to say you were the first. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but then started the reality TV radio wave, where radio started hiring people from reality TV. Now, I'm cautious of saying this because I actually believe that Chrissy Swan is one of the most talented radio broadcasters of all time. But
100%.
But she did get a start on reality TV, and you and her, you were the first show. So you've got this girl straight from Big Brother. Talk me through that.
Yeah. Now, I didn't hire her. In fact, when when they paired us up for Hot 91, I had to look at tapes of Big Brother because I was never really into reality TV. What's this stupid thing? I don't know what this is. I don't even know who Chrissy Swan is. But you're right. Chrissy Swan is way beyond what reality TV is. She's an incredibly smart human being, an incredibly wonderful human being. I love Chrissy. And she came from the world of advertising and copywriting. She understood audiences and the media, and her grasp of knowledge and wordsmithery was beyond that of, Joe Average reality TV star. So working beside her, she taught me as much as I taught her. Mm. It was a wonderful connection, us two.
What I remember about that show was deep, long and hard belly laughs.
Oh, yeah. My cheeks are still sore.
One would start to laugh, the other would laugh, and then you couldn't stop laughing.
I remember her walking is a loose word, crawling out of the studio on all fours. She was laughing so hard, screaming off mic, "I'm going to pee." We just had a blast. We were just two friends playing songs and talking about today and amusing each other and dragging the audience kicking and screaming along for a ride. It was so successful and such a joy to be part of. I relive those days often.
Where did you grow up? Like, what did you listen to growing up?
I grew up on the Gold Coast, which explains my exquisite fashion sense. I grew up listening to 4GG, so like Rick Melbourne and Rod Bryce and all of those kids. And then CFM launched with Dean and Sammy. I loved those guys.
Great
and then
show.
K-Rock. There was K-Rock. I think the Gold Coast was a real little pressure cooker of great radio and content and innovation, and it had all of the ingredients of Cap City radio, and yet I think it was allowed to be an incubator market in those early years, the late 80s, early 90s. And some great radio came out of there.
A real feeder town for, I guess, Austereo in the day. They'd either ship them off to Canberra, Adelaide or Brisbane. And you would have had some Brisbane listening habits as well. And I want to share one story about your love of radio. And this story always warms my heart because you'd done a few gigs, and I think you were in between gigs. And you had my number. As I said, we didn't work together. We worked adjacent, different states. And I think you were doing a fill-in shift. I think it might have been a mid-dawn on Triple M, something like that. And you phoned my number at 2 a.m. in the morning, and I answered it, and all I heard down the phone line was the Triple M whisper, Triple M.
Yeah.
And then you hung up. Yeah. And then you hung up. You didn't even say anything. You hung up. And I thought...
What an obnoxious turd.
No. What it was two blokes that just knew the joy of the radio they grew up listening to.
Oh, yeah. Oh, my God. To this day, Triple M is exciting to me.
My wife wasn't very happy with you, I'll be honest with you. You woke her up as well, and she's like, "Who's that?" Don't worry. Don't ask.
It's Belinda from marketing.
What I just took away from that call was you knew I'd love that call, and I did love that call. And any other radio guy of our age would have loved that phone call as well.
What a thrill.
And then you went overseas.
Then I hopped the pond. I was like, I feel like an adventure.
And so after many years doing very well on Australian radio, Ronnie moved to Canada. On the next episode, we'll hear how his international journey is going, how he landed his first job on Canadian radio, and we're going to unpack the difference between Australian and Canadian radio on the next Quarter Hour podcast.